Good afternoon, everybody. Barry McGuire here with Wayne Hillier. It's the Monday main event. We gather on Mondays about this time to talk about all things real estate. Wayne is often aboard doing these things because he and I like to talk about real estate. And it's today's event, today's program is really in aid and to help out and to move along our joint venture workshop that is coming up next Saturday, April 27th. Wayne and I and his wife Gabby and other assorted folks will be getting together and doing a full day event all about joint ventures. So we talk about all things real estate, but today we're talking about joint ventures. And we're going to start off with talking about, are you ready? In quotation marks, the problem. There is a problem with real estate, and we're problem solvers. So Wayne, what is the problem that leads us to our joint venture discussions?
The problem at hand, I'm glad you asked, Barry. Thank you. Is the fact that at some point in our journey as real estate investors, we are going to eventually run out of cash. We're going to run out of cash. Or some of you may already be there. Maybe some of you don't even have cash. And you've just stumbled upon this whole real estate investing community and industry and thinking, man, this would be a really good idea. I heard, I heard some podcast said it'd be a really good idea. I watched an Instagram video. The way to build wealth is through real estate. Or they say 90% of millionaires make their fortunes through real estate. But, money tends to be the number one problem in succeeding in that.
Well, that's true. I mean, even when you're operating at, a much higher level, let's just say that you're a person with resources and you've moved along the real estate investing trail to the point where you're buying multifamily properties, and your next multi that you would like to work on, and it's in your gun sights and it looks good, is, a 100 unit project that's $40 million. I'm just plucking numbers out of the air here. $40 million. If you're looking to finance that on a standard financing, 20% down, we'd be very lucky if you could get that kind of financing for that kind of a project. 20% of $40 million is $8 million. That's $8 million. I mean, even well-heeled people with lots of experience at a point are going to go, I don't have that $8 million, and this is a smoking good deal. Mm-hmm. So, and you can take that analogy. Bill Gates, I was reading a little blog the other day that says he has a chunk of his stock portfolio pays him $1 million a day in dividends. $1 million a day. That's a nice portfolio. Even Bill can't buy all the real estate he wants without going to Warren Buffett and saying, Warren, I've got a great deal here. You want to joint venture with me? Anyway, people run out of money. That's the problem.
Yeah. It is, as they say, inevitable. And I came to the realization myself. Sorry if I'm distracted over here. I'm just we're having some connectivity issues. So I'm just making sure we're solving it. But I came to the realization myself a little later than I should have. And I, like many, was extremely stubborn. And I don't like using the word control freak. But it tends to be thrown around quite a bit that, a lot of people, especially individuals who are getting into real estate investing, the type of people that want to take control of their life are typically the type of people that don't like to be told what to do or you know what I mean? So like that, being that individual who is willing to go against the grain and against what other individuals in my life recommended or their advice, it's really hard to imagine having to work with individuals. I want to do it myself. I don't want other people telling me. Like I've learned to just stay in my own lane and go against the grain. All the things that rhyme with Wayne. There's a cool nickname in there somewhere. But you know, I spent a few years really just trying to find ways to work around it. How do I do this without, you know, bringing people in? You know, I remember the first networking events that I went to, everyone said, you got to get joint venture partners, got to get joint venture partners. I'm like, nope, not me, not doing it. Nope, not interested. I'm not going to ask people for money. Not happening. And there was a moment years later where I realized that you can't do it without other people. And once that kind of clicks in your head, you start to realize that if it's inevitable, then I got to start thinking about, okay, if that's the case, then how do I do this in a way that makes you feel comfortable?
All right. So that's how it was for you. That's how it will be. It'll be some version of that for everyone who wants to invest in real estate.
Mhm.
So I think that pretty much sets out what the problem is. And joint ventures is a great solution to that problem. Joint
Absolutely.
ventures are.
And I'd say it's also, well, we're going to get into it. We're going to get into all the reasons why. But we also got that workshop coming up this weekend. It's going to even go even further into that. But yes. You know, there's lots of different other ways that people have tried to find a way to make this work. And, you know, some people have said through private money and borrowing funds, perhaps for, you know, down payments and stuff. And there's a lot of legalities that you need to understand. There's also a lot of you need to consider as far as financing goes and the cost of borrowing those funds, those down payment funds. Mm-hmm. And, you know, after you go through the legalities and after you go through the finance and you run your numbers, you're going to realize that joint ventures just makes the most sense.
Yes. Yes. Theoretically, you could work with private money to get the money that you need to acquire properties. And if you're a sharp enough operator and you can offer your private lender sufficient funds, and if you have enough experience, but it's a long way down the real estate and joint venture road before anyone would have that amount of experience. Private money is expensive money, and you know, in my experience over the length of time I've been doing this, I haven't really seen anybody who's built their real estate empire on private money. You can do some deals, you can do a few deals, and if you get really good at it, you can probably do a lot of deals, but I haven't seen the evidence of that. And I certainly see many more joint ventures than I do private money deals. And
so it'd be good, show of hands, guys, in the comments. I know we can't see the comments for some reason, but Donna's in the back and she's going to maybe help us out with this. But show of hands, how many of you guys have done joint ventures? And also, I'm curious, how many of you guys have no freaking idea what a joint venture is? Because this is one of the main reasons why we decided to do this today, was because we have this joint ventures workshop coming up this Saturday, April 27th. And let's just be honest, Barry, this is not a $99 or a $20 webinar. Okay. This is a full-on workshop where you're going to be getting digital documents and contracts, and you're going to get worksheets, and you're going to, like, you have industry experts who are going to be teaching you how to do this from start to finish. So this is not it's an investment. And yes, there's a lot of people that we learned throughout these last few weeks as we've been advertising it. A lot of people don't understand what it is. So we thought that maybe today would be a really good opportunity for us to like take it down to the basics, so that for everyone else who doesn't know exactly what it is, we probably heard the term thrown around a little bit. Maybe you can get a better understanding of how this works, what it is, and then if this workshop is right for you, or if joint ventures are right for you. I'm willing to bet that as I explain a little bit more, and as we explain how to understand it at a basic level, a lot of you who have been stubborn like I was, you're going to see the opportunity that I saw when the light bulb clicked for me. All right. Well, no idea. Saurabh, I hope, Saurabh, I'm not murdering your name too badly, says no idea what a joint venture is. So this is a good webinar for you to be on, Saurabh. Any other comments, Donna?
They're working on it. There's about some on the go, still looking.
Still looking. But not too many on the don't know it all side of things. Well, we'll keep going.
Barry,
Yes.
Would you say now I would say this is a pretty commonly known in our industry. A lot of people understand what a joint venture is. Would you consider it to be a beginner strategy or an advanced strategy?
I think it is a bit more of an advanced strategy because for many people, they're going to be the working partner in the joint venture, and to be the working partner and to say to your money partner, you know what, I can make these real estate deals just pop because I have experience. I know what I'm doing. And to get that experience, I think folks are better off. It's not impossible to do otherwise, but I think they're better off if they've purchased a property or two, ideally 3 if they can manage it. And going through that process of purchasing 3 properties really tells you what it is like to buy property, how to evaluate, how to rent, how to manage, how to go, boy, I sure must have made some mistakes on that first one that I'm not going to make on my second one. And by the time you do your third one, and if you're really applying yourself, you'll have a lot of expertise. So it's I think an advanced strategy in the sense that I think you're better off doing some basic real estate deals before you tout yourself as an expert. Now, it's not impossible to do without having purchased a property. I think it's more difficult for you. You got to work a lot harder if you're going to go that route.
We'll obviously be getting into that at the workshop about how to build that trust and that credibility to become the type of person that somebody would want to invest in.
So important. So important. So should we move on to what the heck is a joint venture?
Yeah, and I've always loved the way that you describe it. So I'm gonna let you take this one. I think that.
Well, you know what? I'm going to go into our manual. I think it's 200 plus pages now, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah.
That was a thick manual. That
I
picture
know.
Donna posted.
I know
But that was only one side.
only one side, so it's about an inch thick. It's over 200 pages of manual, to say nothing of the digital documents and the other things that come with this webinar. But in that manual, here's what it says. Definition of a joint venture from a legal perspective, which, as a lawyer, I favor legal perspectives. The joining of 2 or more people to conduct a specific business enterprise. A joint venture is similar to a partnership in that it must be created by an agreement between the parties to share in the losses and profits of the venture. It is unlike a partnership in that the venture is typically for one specific project only, rather than for a continuing business relationship. Partnerships with a capital P are for ongoing relationships. Lawyers are often partners. So we call ourselves partners in a different way. So that's from a legal perspective. From a sort of plain English perspective, a joint venture is an agreement joining together 2 or more parties for the purpose of investing in real estate. Each party commits to perform certain duties and live up to those commitments.
That was a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Did I answer your questions, Rob?
It's 2 people getting together to buy real estate and share the money contributions and share the duties, share the profits, share the losses. Is maybe a more understandable way to say that. And joint ventures can have a number of people in. We're going to talk really from the perspective of just 2 people in a joint venture. 2 people in a joint venture. So should we carry on a little bit here in this vein, Wayne, for a little?
Yeah, for sure. And as well, you gave the example of 2 people in this. We'll also be giving a couple examples at the end of this this Facebook Live, a few examples of just how you can use a joint venture and how it can apply to some of the deals that you guys are already doing.
Yeah, no, that would be, that would be really good. So, the classic and most basic of joint ventures is 2 individuals getting together. You can have other parties, and we'll talk about that as we get up to the next thing of structures. 2 individuals. Again, when people are just starting out, they often divide up the 2 people into, one of them is the money partner, They have time and no money, interest in real estate, time and no money. The working partner is the partner that we hope has some expertise, that has the ability to find properties, find tenants, manage, and do the myriad things. There's a million things that a working partner does in a joint venture.
Mhm.
But the classic is two parties, money on one side, duties and work and running the joint venture on the other side. Sharing the joint venture 50-50 is a classic.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be 50-50, but that is classic. So I see.
And when you say classic, you mean like decades. This has been the classic.
Yes.
This isn't just a new thing. This
So-
has been around for a very long time. It's the first time you're hearing it. This has been happening for decades. So people have been doing this successfully.
But it is. And I was, as I was getting ready for the weekend, I always look at documents and refresh my mind. And in my documents file, I came across an old, very short joint venture classic from when the great Raymond Aron was still touring. And it was 4 or 5 pages long. It was not a very good agreement, but guess what? It was two people and it was a 50-50 deal. And that's 40 years ago. So
Yeah.
long time for the classic.
Yeah.
So
And it's one of those strategies that's still around today because it works. It works if done correctly. If everything is outlined correctly in your joint venture agreement, everybody honors it. There's a great opportunity for everyone to make some money and continue to keep doing more deals like this. And this will still be around 40 years from now as well.
It will. And there's nothing wrong with that classic basic joint venture.
Mhm.
Let me tell you, folks, if you as a working partner get good at joint ventures, you can go along and find people to write you checks. They will write you checks willy-nilly.
Yeah.
The person who will write you the check the fastest is the person that you did your first successful joint venture with, and hopefully all of them are successful. But if you go along to that person and say, you know what, I found another house. It's exactly like the one we just did. It's going to set up exactly the same way. Let me show you a couple things. If you like what's going on in the one we're already in, before I offer it out to other interested people, what do you think? If they have money, they will give you that money. Let me tell you. And if the two-person style works for you, then you just put together another deal just like the last deal. Likely, if you did some paperwork, you can kind of repeat the paperwork that you used. If you have roughly the same strategy and the same kind of deal, so you can lower down on your legal costs for documentation drafting. And if you've got a really good strategy, you can just keep doing that. No point changing one that works. It's easier to do again and easier to explain, easier to show why new people would be really interested in getting in bed with you on this classic joint venture that you've developed and you know what you're doing.
I'm so glad that you said that because that's one of the big aha moments that I had as well. I always heard you say it, but until I got my first joint venture partner, and then you kind of go through the first couple quarters and maybe the first year, and you send off the reporting, the yearly reporting to them, and maybe you're sending off the tax stuff as well. And you have those conversations with them because throughout the year, you're not having many conversations with your joint venture partner. They are hands off. The money partner is normally hands off. But when I have that conversation with them, it's always like, hey, so what are we doing next? And it like there's so much groundwork that's done to get them in the door. But once they're in the door, it's just, dare I say it, just easy money.
Yeah.
It's just so easy because all of the fears and the what ifs and the concerns about what could possibly happen, all those fears are completely gone. And now it's just a matter of, do I have the money or not? Is it a good time to invest or not? It's very simple.
Yeah.
And one joint venture turns into many joint ventures.
And if you go back to them and they don't have the money, they'll say, darn, this first one is working so well. I wish I had the money, but I don't. I'm accumulating more, so make sure you keep me on your list. But my brother Bob, who is looking over my shoulder and kind of jealous about this first joint venture that I've got going, he is dying to do this. And so would you mind if I introduce my brother Bob to you? And that's how it goes.
Absolutely.
That's how it goes. So, Wayne, next up on our banner, do you think we should move on to the structures question? Are we there yet?
Yeah, we've kind of touched on it more or less. You know,
We
the
have touched on it,
standard,
yeah.
the standard, the classic 50-50 is normally how most people are purchasing your long-term buy and holds. And I would say that classic partnership structure also applies to a lot of many other real estate investing strategies or business models as well. The fix and flip business model is another one. The rent to owns, very popular for using joint ventures as well.
Yes.
And able to scale and do more rent to own deals, provide housing solutions to tenant buyers.
Yeah.
And also multifamily. Now, sometimes in multifamily it can apply. Sometimes you might want to get into a shareholders agreement at that point, but we're overcomplicating things. But what I'm saying is that joint ventures, you know, the legal contract that forms a joint venture can be used on just about every real estate investing strategy.
Yeah.
And 50-50 is normally the classic.
50-50 is, although Don and I were involved in a very successful joint venture where we were the money partners, and our working partner just kind of looked us in the eye and said, listen, I'm going to be 60, you're going to be 40 if you want to work with me. Very confident person. And here's why. Effectively, you're going to make 20% on your money. I can't remember the number. And love to work with you if you're okay with that. And so get good at it. You can increase your side of things. Now on the structure side, so we talked about the classic 2-person situation. We always get a lot of questions, Wayne, about do I need a corporation to invest in real estate? And the corporate side of things, the more complicated structure questions are always, I think, best answered for folks who think they're going to do a lot of real estate. They should go off to their accountant, hopefully someone that they've been working with, who knows them, and they should say, accountant, I'm going to get involved in joint ventures. That's my plan. I'd like to buy, let's say, 5 houses over the next 2 years. And I'm going to have a little bit of money myself. I'm going to buy a property or two. Then I'm going to find people with money and do joint ventures. You know what my personal situation is. You know what my business is, if there's a business involved. Should I be doing this as an individual, or should I be looking at doing it as a corporation? And so people ask me, Barry, what should my structure be? And I have to poke away at a little bit and get a little more information, but I often send them to their accountant to say, you got to chat with your accountant who knows best what structure would work for you. And then the lawyer helps put together the structure. So, I mean, am I going to do it in a corporation? Is my money partner already a corporation? So we have 2 corporations instead of 2 individuals, or 1 individual and 1 corporation, or a holding corporation with 2 shareholder corporations, or 1 shareholder corporation and an individual. So there's lots of different structures that are available, and whether you should use them or not depends on whether they work for what you want to do and actually make sense. This thing about needing a corporation has some talismanic consequence for a lot of people, and a lot of people just don't need a corporation. You don't need the expense of incorporating. You don't need the expense of paying the yearly costs to keep your corporation going. You don't need the complication of it. You don't need the money side of it that's extra. You just need to be you. But I think folks should start with their accountant, have a little chat about who they are, what the accountant says, and get a little coaching there before they decide on any corporate structure, whether it's the 2-person or anything else. But there are a lot of structures available for your accountant to say, you know what would be right for you, Wayne? And then he'd tell you.
Yeah. And in regards to joint ventures and how you can structure them on a contract level, I mean, there's so many different ways that you can put it together. We talk about the 50-50, but you could do a 75-25, you could do a 60-40. And you can also take into account, we're talking about like who's getting what of the proceeds, but we haven't talked about who's bringing what of the money. There's different ways of like who's bringing what to the deal, who's providing the deal, and who's actually going to be bringing the deal. Maybe the money partner has the deal as well, and you're the expert. So that could alter the profit share as well. And then there's all of the roles, responsibilities, and obligations of each party as well. So those can be shifted and dialed back and dialed forward. So there's lots to consider. And then all of those things are taken into consideration to determine what the profit split's going to be. So we'll be covering that in way more detail at the workshop. But just know that the thing I love most about joint ventures, and that's not just the ability to get people to give me money and buy more properties. The second thing that I like, the second best thing I like about joint ventures is the flexibility of it, and that no one deal or one contract or partnership is the only way you can do it. You can structure it however you want. It's all negotiable, and it's all about creating win-win scenarios for both parties.
Yeah. So there's the kind of legal structure, which I was talking about. And as Wayne says, there's the how this joint venture runs part of the structure, which is the money and the responsibilities and the extra contributions down the road and how we get in and out. As Wayne said, we'll be going over a whole bunch of this in a ton more detail on Saturday, the 27th. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So now would be a good time to make a transition into the next thing we want to talk about, which was the shared risks and rewards. Another great part about joint ventures. Yes. And how it differs from borrowing funds per se, or for down payments or whichever. Mm-hmm. I like. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but there are definitely there is always going to be risks with real estate. Though we try and mitigate those risks as much as possible, there is always going to be some level of risk, and a good, sophisticated real estate investor is going to be able to put systems and measures in place in order to prevent those or to mitigate them. But joint ventures is all about sharing, and it's not just about sharing the profits, the rewards. It's also about sharing the risk as well. So I like that it adds a bit of accountability. To the deal, meaning that because there is some shared risks, it forces the joint venture managing partner to work a little harder because they have that equitable interest in the deal, as opposed to just saying peace. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes. So there are lots of risks and there are lots of rewards, within the joint venture. On the risk side of things, one of the things that mitigates risk a lot is if you are the working partner proposing a joint venture to the money partner. One of the things that mitigates risk in the joint venture is to put forward a conservative proposal. Yeah. Put forward a conservative proposal. If, for instance, as an example, if you think your money partner can go to the bank and get an 80% loan, maybe he'll come up with 20% down payment, but he can qualify for an 80% mortgage. I've seen a number of my clients say to their money partner, you know what? You would be much better protected against downside risk if we decided that it was going to be a 25% down payment and a 75% mortgage. And here's why. And then you can run some numbers that show why that runs better and why long haul it protects your money partner more. You can run your numbers on a conservative rent projection. I mean, rents in a neighborhood can vary widely, and projecting rent at the highest possible penny that can be squeezed out of a particular property in a particular area has a way better chance of not working than one where you go, this is the range. Of course, we'll try and rent it for as much as we can. But as we talk about it before we get into it, let's base it on kind of middle of the road numbers. So those are a couple of examples of mitigating risk for the operation of the joint venture. You probably have a few more that you've personally seen in yours, Wayne.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that a joint venture partner, phrase that, going out of your way to tell a joint venture partner that, hey, instead of putting 20% down, I want you to put 25% down. I can understand how most of you guys are thinking that that's going to be a difficult conversation. And it is. It 100% is. Most joint venture partners would be like, they want to put the least amount of money in and get the most rewards, and they want to have the least amount of risk. But I've found that my type of joint venture partners, the type of joint venture partners that I look for, are the type of individuals that like when I say that. My joint venture profile, which we'll be getting into in the workshop, is the type of person that says, thank you for proposing that we put more money down to lower my risks. Because that type of joint venture partner admires and respects the fact that my number one concern is making sure that their investment is safe. Yeah. And not that they make the most amount of money. We're going to do that, but we first have to protect the house first. Yeah. Because there are tons of risks in real estate.
Those people, the kinds of folks you're talking about, Wayne, are guys who follow Warren Buffett, maybe the world's greatest investor, whose first two rules of investing are don't lose money and don't lose money.
Yes.
So when you talk to folks about why everything you're aimed at is not losing money and maximizing profit, Wayne's investor profile eats that up. So
absolutely.
And
there's a saying that I love using during my joint venture presentations, and it always seems to work. And it's not a sleazy sales line. It's the honest to goodness truth. And that is that if you don't make money, I don't make money. Yeah. And I've always found that line has always really worked and helped build that trust. If there's ever been any uncertainty, during a presentation, the understanding that if the joint venture money partner does not make any money, I don't make money, it really helps them feel better about it. At the same time, if they ask, what if we lose money? Well, if you lose money, I lose money. And I don't like working for free, and I don't like losing money. Yeah. Plain and simple. And I found that that's always really worked with that type of joint venture partner. So yes, there are some risks, but they are shared, which is great. It shows the joint venture partner that you're in it with them, and it's not just them. It's not just their money to be lost. There's a lot more to lose. I have a lot to lose as well. I have my time to lose. I have potentially money to lose. I also have my reputation to lose. So that shared risk and reward is fantastic, and one of the other major reasons why I love joint ventures.
Yeah, if you can find people that understand the shared risk and who love, and where it resonates for them when you say, if you don't make money, I don't make money. I mean, that's the light bulb going on for a lot of people who at a point, and before they understand, before trust is built, all they see is they're coming up with all the money. Yeah. They're signing going to the bank and saying, I'm responsible for this giant mortgage. Plus I got to come up with the deposit. Plus, oh my goodness, what's this about if we need a cash call? And I have to come up with more money. So, folks can't help but look at it that way. And so you have to get them to understand your philosophy and really let them see inside your head that you are going to work as hard as you possibly can to make sure they don't lose money.
Absolutely.
Always a 100%. Risk. Yeah. Now, Wayne, do you do anything about in your joint venture situations. Do you say anything at all about the black swan events, the unfathomable, the COVID? COVID's a perfect black swan. Came along and upset everyone's apple cart to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
Do you deal with any of that kind of thing when you talk about risk to your ventures, or is it so far out that what's the point?
I always like to give the joint venture potential partner an opportunity to ask any questions that they might have, right? And that's part of, I wouldn't say the negotiation stage, but past the presentation stage. Once that we've outlined the offer that we have for the opportunity, it's at that time that they, I love to open it up to allow them to speak about what they're concerned about, what are their big things that they want answered, what are their concerns, because if I don't know, then I can't help them, right? So I always want to open that up, and sometimes I'll even throw some things out there, and maybe it's not the best sales practices, but sometimes it's good to kind of throw things out there because I feel confident in my business and my ability to perform as a working partner, that I know that I have the answer to just about anything. So during that time, during that stage, I'm actually trying to find what it is that they're concerned about so that we can overcome it. Yeah. So yes, 100%. I love to identify the pandemic. I love to identify how many people were ruined during the pandemic. I'm sorry, but how many people weren't prepared for something like that? And that's kind of one of those things, like you said, a black swan, that who could have possibly imagined that they would have just shut our whole country down, yes. Right? And then also the fact that the landlord and tenant boards were shut down. They were preventing people from evicting tenants. Interest rates started going up after that. Like nobody could have seen in the last 4 years, nobody could have seen any of this stuff. I think that we've been, this is as close to the rapture in real estate investing as we've ever gotten in the last 4 years. We've been hit with everything. And I love highlighting that and then showing that we're still here. And that's because of the measures and the systems that we put in place that we could never, ever be hit. And we can never affect our business. No. And that's because we keep it simple, we keep it vanilla, and we keep it safe. We don't do high risk investment for that reason alone. So I love having that conversation because I find that it helps me build better trust with my partners.
And every money partner has, they have their concerns and secret fears, and some people are okay about getting it all out and some aren't. And so you do have to kind of poke away at it a little bit, open it up for questions like you do, try and make sure that you understand what it is that your money partner is thinking and worried about. Sometimes you have to pry it out of them, but it's important to do, or it kind of festers there, and it'll be a problem somewhere along the line if you don't ask questions and get them to understand what's going on. So
absolutely.
Now, what about the rewarding side of things? I mean, if you're a person who's run out of money, I mean, one of the global rewards of a joint venture is that you can buy more real estate.
Scalability.
Scalability.
I mean, I wasn't kidding earlier. I was stubborn, and I'm still kind of stubborn in some senses. I'm going to say something. If Donna were here, she might nudge me. But I personally, and I teach this, I don't like partnerships. I don't. In my opinion, in business, I have a belief in business that you should never partner with anyone. You should hire. Okay? Just plain and simple. Because in situations where partnerships don't go well, it's easy. You can't fire a partner, but you can fire an employee. So my personal belief, I'm telling you right now, is that I don't like partnerships because I want to be able to make the decisions myself, and I want to be in control because I know that the decisions that I make are for my best interest, and I don't like other people getting involved in it. And that's why I was so stubborn for so long about joint ventures. I'm like, I do not believe in this. And if you guys agree with me, feel free to put in the comments. But coming to that realization that it is inevitable that I cannot hire people to give me money for down payments. I cannot hire people to carry mortgages for me. It came crystal clear that the inevitability that I have to get joint venture partners. And when I came to that realization, I started planning, how am I going to make this work? Because I can't do it. If you can't do it, then you have to come to terms with it. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
So if you now is in the matter of like, how do I make this work? So I make sure that I set up my joint venture structure, and I set up my expectations of my joint venture partners, and I set up who I want to partner with. It has to all be crystal clear, and they have to understand that I am the working partner, and you are the money partner. Now, there are some things in some circumstances, some expenses that I will need your consent. Like, I'm not going to go spend $10,000 on on some new thing, some new washer and dryer, for this rental property. I am going to consult with you on large, expenditures. But otherwise, I want you to trust that I'm the type of person that can be trusted, and that I'll be able to make the decisions. And I'm going to keep you apprised on a quarterly basis for all of my decisions. So if you do have any questions, you can ask me at that time. I say all of this because I just really want you guys to understand the power of joint ventures and where I stand on it. And once I came to that realization, now I can see that just like I can do as many deals as I want. I can do as many deals as I want. It is only the only thing holding me back is from picking up the phone and calling people, right? That's it. The joint ventures are just so incredibly powerful because you can literally do as many as you want. And I like that. That's one of the main, well, if we're talking about benefits of joint ventures, that is it right there. The ability to do as many deals as you want, or as many deals as you can within 16 waking hours or being awake. Now, there's also some benefits as well for joint venture partners on the money partner side. And that is, because it's not always just about the working partner. For those of you guys that are watching, some of you guys might be interested in being a money partner. And I'm one of them. I don't want to be a working partner for the rest of my life. It actually sucks. Managing rental properties is not fun. It's inevitable in order for me to be successful and to grow my wealth. I understand that. So I do it. But as I grow my wealth, my plan has always been to start as a working partner and end as a passive partner. Right? Whether that be through hiring people for businesses or whether that be through partnering with people through businesses and rental properties. So from the perspective of a money partner, it's fantastic because you are hands off. If you can find the right partner, working partner to deal with everything that you can trust, like say me, you know what I mean? The type of person that has the answer for everything, that's a perfect partner. And to be able to just put your money there and not have to worry about it is amazing, is absolutely amazing. Hands off investing, great returns. So from the working partner's perspective, I think that there's a lot of benefits as well.
So as much as you're not a guy who likes partnerships, it sounds like you have reconciled yourself to the notion that you have to do joint ventures. And so
yeah,
you've reconciled to the notion, and then you said, okay, what am I going to do so that I can get rid of my natural discomfort about partnering up with somebody? How can I get rid of what troubles me with this so that I can have a positive forward-looking relationship? It sounds like you're there. Have you overcome all that other stuff and you're there now?
Yeah. It comes down to really having clear guidelines, expectations, and understanding of the type of people you want to work with. It's Stephen Covey, begin with the end in mind, right? If this is what you want, you got to work your way backwards, reverse engineer how it would look if it were perfect. And you have to break down the type of person you want to be with, to work with, the type of person that you want to, or type of deal you want to be working on. What are all of the legal ins and outs of what happens if this, what happens if this, you know what I mean? Having clear expectations, and then not just having it in a contract, but having a discussion with your partner so that they understand as well, so that you're not just letting them know when you're ready to sign the deal. That you have to be proactive and find those individuals first and then bring them a deal. So I find that being proactive and having clear guidelines and expectations is the way to overcome this, so that it's easier to continue. Like I said, joint ventures are difficult. They can be
It can be.
if you're partnered with the wrong person.
Well, clarity though, you're talking about clarity and execution. You've got to be clear on all fronts, and then you've got to execute the joint venture and the plan for the joint venture to make it the successful deal that you talked to your money partner about in the beginning. So there's a lot of components to it, but
so some other benefits that I had written down here, I just made some notes, were the ability, not just scalability, more money, but also more mortgages. One other thing that's inevitable is you are going to run out of mortgages. Even if you are rich as hell, you're still probably going to run out of mortgages too. And it's funny, as you start, the only thing that's important is money, 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 money. And then eventually you get to a certain point where it's funny in that graph where the value of money decreases and the value of financing increases. And a lot of people, they never think about the value of a mortgage until you can't get a mortgage. And then suddenly it's the most important thing in your life. So consider that as well, that it might not be important to you right now because you can still get those low interest mortgages through your personal name. Eventually, it will become more valuable than money. And I learned that a little later than I'd like to have as well. And just having that understanding ahead of time can help you proactively plan to know that, okay, even though I do have all this money, maybe you made a whole 20-year plan out where, okay, I'm going to refinance this and pull this money out, and I'm never going to need joint venture partners ever again. Well, I did too. And then I realized I won't be able to get all the mortgages that I ever wanted. So the big benefits as well is the ability to get more mortgages.
Yeah.
And then, sorry, I'll let you go.
So it sounds like you've gone through that whole process of, I can do all this on my own. I don't want partners. I've got money. I mean, how many properties do I want? I can 2 or 3. And then you go, can't buy any more. Don't have any more down payment money. Can't qualify for another mortgage. And I've changed my mind. I do want more properties. So you have to change.
The last thing that I'll add for benefits, and it was through all of this realization and through doing deals after getting that first damn deal, after getting that first one done. It wasn't until a little bit later on that I realized that I actually like helping people. I know I was really selfish in the beginning where it's just me. And, sometimes you say things out loud like I like to help friends and family. But I tell you, once you start doing it and you start having those conversations and you start seeing that gratitude from the other party and you start seeing their net worth and their cash flow increasing and the opportunities in their life that it creates for them, and start seeing the long-term effects of it and how it's going to with their retirement and their long-term goals. It's just like, it really does have this really cool feeling that all this stuff that I was just keeping for myself, that I was going to help build my own family's generational wealth, I can share this with others as well. I know it sounds cliche, but it's the truth, and you'll feel it too after you do a couple of deals with joint venture partners. It feels great helping people.
It's way better to have that helping perspective. It's a positive, forward-looking. People can tell. Just give me a second here.
Sure.
I'm dying.
You want me to mute you? Okay. I'll honestly, and guys, let us know in the comments if you agree with that. I know many of you guys are just getting started with joint ventures, and it can seem a little overwhelming, but like I said, today's live training was more about really just breaking down the basics of joint venture so you guys can see the opportunities and for what it can really create. And I know many of you guys don't quite understand it. And we're going to do our best, just in the last 15 minutes or so here, just to answer any of your questions that you have as well. If you don't quite understand how it can apply, or maybe even just the basic fundamentals of it. But I see, Barry, there's a question here from Rosalia. She asks, by doing a joint venture, do you open an account together in order to put the rents, expenses, etc.?
Well, there's a number of ways you can do it. Let's ask Wayne what he does.
This is normally I would normally pass this off to Gabby because Gabby handles the management of this, and for good reasons. Because I don't know how she does it. I don't. Okay, so the answer to your question is yes. You open a joint account with your joint venture partner. Now, I want you to imagine, Rosalia, that you have 100 joint venture partners. And I want you to imagine this level of a success that you're dreaming. And then I want you to imagine 100 checking accounts that you need to manage. And I tell you, once you get to 5, it's already stressful enough as is. So yes, in order to keep things on a bookkeeping level organized, you're going to want to make sure that you have your own separate account. If the joint venture partner is going to be on mortgage and you're not, then yes, you're going to want to be, you'll want to be in the same account that the mortgage and the property taxes and the insurance are coming out of. It's easiest to just to have it in one account. And then that way, for traceability for your bookkeeper and your tax professional, they'll be able to see all of that. Don't mix multiple joint ventures into one account. Otherwise, this is going to be chaos. But yeah, another not a good aha moment was when we realized how many checking accounts we would be managing. And Gabby has a spreadsheet. My wife has a spreadsheet of all of the different accounts, account numbers, passwords, and stuff. It's absolute madness. It's madness.
Accounting is hugely important. You have to keep track of everything. Disputes often arise when one party feels like the other isn't keeping track of things properly. So the business side of running a joint venture is ultra important, and you have to be just very, very picky about making sure that you record and report in an impeccable way so nobody can ever shoot at it. It's a protection for you.
Mm-hmm.
When people don't understand or don't know what's going on, and they go, show me the books. Well, you want to be able to show the financial records and have anybody who look at it see that everything has properly been recorded and allocated and accounted for. So that's very, very important. And it's there's a big chunk of how to do that in our manual because it is really important.
And even if you're not doing quarterly reports, which, by the way, don't take my advice on quarterly reports. Quarterly is way too often. It is a huge mistake that we made. We should be doing it biannual. But regardless, even if you're not doing biannual or quarterly reports, just the ability for your joint venture partner to be able to log into the account to see that the money is coming in from the rent, that the mortgage is being paid, the property taxes are being paid, there's insurance on the property, and any expenses that have come up for repairs or maintenance. As long as they could see that, there's a level of trust there, and they have that. And if your joint venture partner is ever asking, well, how do I know that you're going to? You can just say, hey, you have full access to the account. Go and check it out. And if you want to check every morning at 8 a.m. as you're eating your breakfast and drinking your coffee, that's your right. And if you catch anything, you can jump on it immediately. But obviously, if you feel, joint venture partner, if you feel like I'm the type of person that would do something like that, then I highly recommend you don't do this deal with me. So there needs to be a level of trust there as well.
Yeah. Trust is important on different levels for sure. Throughout a joint venture, it's important in a lot of different ways. Now, what about joint venture examples? That's the last of our banners, and we better get onto that because
7 minutes.
Time is fleeting.
I have a daughter that has a soccer practice I need to get her to.
Oh, wow.
I'm a soccer dad. It's what the freedoms of real estate have given her. It's to take my daughter to soccer now. 5 times a week is what our new schedule is.
Wow.
Wow.
Whoa.
Now that she's playing club soccer, it is now 5 times a week. So you'll be seeing a whole lot less of the 5 p.m. for Wayne.
Yeah, serious responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it though. It's my favorite thing in the world. It's my favorite thing in the world.
You got to do it. It's nothing like kids soccer. It's so fun.
Yeah.
Of course, now that she's playing club soccer, it's better soccer, not the 5-year-olds running around and
no more Timbits. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, we thought it would be a really good a good idea to share a couple, 1 or 2 examples of just some standard joint venture examples, so that way you guys have a good idea of what exactly it looks like. I think we painted a pretty decent picture though today, did we not?
I think so. Maybe you weren't asking me, asking me for all our attendees.
Mhm.
You're having me. So what do you got for an example that we?
I'm just going to lay it out super cookie cutter for you. Super cookie cutter. And, fill in, let's say Barry and I'm a working partner. Barry is a money partner. Barry agrees that he sees the opportunity in the Edmonton market, for example. And I see a unique opportunity for a cash flowing property type in a certain area I've got my eye on. I've got my search set up with my realtor. I've put some offers out recently. I'm negotiating on one currently right now. Barry says, okay, cool. If you lock one up, you let me know. And so as I lock it up, and we've done all of our preliminary paperwork, and we understand Barry has a good idea of what it is, the type of property that we're looking for to partner with. Once we purchase that property, Barry is going to be the one that's going to be actually purchasing it. Barry is going to be the one that's going to be on mortgage. He's going to be the one on title. Okay. And we're not going to do any paperwork. We're just going to have a general, just a general agreement, handshake beforehand. Okay. Now, once the purchase is done, that's when we'll do up all the joint venture paperwork and everything else. And Barry, like I said, is going to be the one bringing the down payment money. So that's going to be his initial contribution. As well, Barry is also going to be bringing the reserve fund, which is something that's very important for me as far as the way I run my business. Not everybody does it, but I always want to make sure that I have a good reserve fund to start off as well, to make sure that if any expenses are come up out of the gates within the first few months, I want to know we got the money there. Okay. As well, a percentage of the cash flow is going to go to replenishing that reserve fund, but that's another topic for another day. So Barry's initial contributions are going to be the down payments, the reserve fund, and the closing costs for buying the property. That might be home inspection or appraisal fees, etc. You take all of that, we're going to put it into the joint venture agreement. That's going to be Barry's contributions. My contributions are going to be nil in this example, but we could negotiate it. We could say that I got to bring 5,000 for the reserve or something along those lines. But for this example, mine will be nil. Barry's will be, let's say, for example, a total of $80,000. Barry's bringing $80,000. Okay. And so after 10 years of mortgage pay down, good mortgage pay down, we're building up equity, and the property has appreciated a significant amount. Barry and I agree at the end of our joint venture agreement, because we agreed on 10 years, it's a good time to sell. We're both done. You want to reallocate those funds into something else. I want to take my equity and put it into something else as well. So we agree to sell it. Once we sell, the proceeds from that sale, what's going to happen? Let's say, for example, we got $300,000 worth of proceeds. First, we're going to deduct the closing costs, because there's probably going to be some closing costs, realtor fees and legal fees, etc. So let's say there's about $20,000 worth of closing costs. We'll subtract $20,000 from the $300,000. Then, with the remaining $280,000, Barry's going to get his $80,000 back, his initial investment back first. Okay. Because this actually confuses some people. Some people think that the proceeds from the sale, the equity, is going to be split down the middle. No, Barry's going to get his money back first. Then any remaining proceeds or any remaining profit, that gets split 50-50. So in this example, it'll be $300,000 minus $20,000 minus Barry's $80,000 money back, which is $200,000. And then we would split that 50-50. So he would get $100,000 in profits and I would get $100,000 in profits. Super simple 50-50 joint venture. Doesn't need to be any more complicated than that.
No, it does not. It definitely does not. And lots and lots and lots of joint ventures get done exactly like that.
Yeah. Barry made a really great return on his money. I mean, what is that? Was it 125%, something like that? ROI in 10 years?
100 on 80. Yeah. There you go.
125% ROI. Low risk, super simple. Didn't have to do a thing.
Yeah.
It might be off the pinch, but
but Barry's happy, and so is Wayne.
Yeah. I made $100,000. It's just working. And just using my expertise. And that's the best part about it, is that, to be honest, it didn't do that much work. I use my expertise. I use my knowledge that I learned through taking courses about, the real estate investing market, about building a business, treating it like a business, having those reserve funds in place, putting cash flow away, so that this rental property was never at risk. And then by having that expertise, I was able to capitalize on that and to sell my expertise to someone else in the form of a service. You know, maybe I filled a couple vacancies, did a couple showings. Maybe I dealt with some repairs remotely by calling a handyman, but otherwise it's a pretty, like, real estate investing, if treated like a business, is actually pretty hands off. And in 10 years, I made $100K. That's $100,000 towards whatever my goals were, right? Just imagine I had 10, joint venture partners just like Barry. In 10 years, I added $1 million to my net worth that I would have otherwise never had. $1 million. I'd be a millionaire. And I'm not overcomplicating this at all. I'm not adding the BRRRR strategy and rent to owns and all these other complicated strategies. It's super simple.
Well, you know what? We're out of time. We're at the end of the show.
I dangled that millionaire carrot right at the end there. Hey, it's like, oh, take the joint ventures workshop and you could be a millionaire in 10 years. Add that to the website, Donna. I mean,
Donna's on it. Donna's on it.
It's not what we like to do, but I hope that you guys realize the simplicity of the statement. I wasn't over exaggerating. I wasn't saying you're going to be quitting your job in 3 months. I'm talking realistic, safe results that are very, very super simple if done right. And that's why this workshop is so incredibly important, because we're going to teach you how to do it right. We're not promising riches or millionaire status in the next 30 days, but what I can say is that if you do it right and you treat it like a business and you do the hard work, there's opportunity and potential for you to change your life and to change the life of other individuals as well.
Yeah. And it's a time-tested, proven technique. It's learnable, it's doable, it can be extremely successful. And we're going to show up on Saturday, the 27th, and tell all those interested folks all about it.
Yeah. And there'll be much more examples in way more detail. We got some really amazing guest speakers. We got Wally Agbula, we got Alana Carletti, we got Chris and Rebecca Smith. They're going to be coming. They're going to be telling real life joint venture stories of how they raise capital recently, not 10 years ago, 40 years ago. I'm talking about recently. They do this. And Wally is actually took this joint venture workshop and he applied it, and he was able to do his first joint venture last year with a friend. Just a friend called him up and said, hey, I'm interested in joint venturing with you. It was a crazy story. Anyway, I don't want to ruin it. I'm not going to ruin the story. But we got some really cool stories coming and case studies as well.
That's great. I love the stories more than anything. So we'll go back and keep working on what we're doing, you and I and Donna, to give the best possible presentation coming up. And I'm really looking forward to it coming up on Saturday.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for having me, Barry. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for being on, Wayne, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Bye, guys.
Good night, everybody.